I felt really bad for her and I felt extremely angry with my mom and my sister, so I decided to hit back at them once and for all. And I guess I kind of said something that I can't take back, which I feel really bad about. They were shouting at me over my wife's request to get them to leave, calling me selfish, telling me that I was letting my ego get in the way of a happy family and that my kid would be most unfortunate because of a narcissistic dad like me. And I said that at least I was going to be able to have a kid, and I can't say the same for my sister, and I knew for a fact that she had only bothered to come here because she knew that she was infertile and now she wanted a relationship with her future niece or nephew, so she could act like a parasite and try to sneak her way into being a mother, which is just pathetic. And to my mother, I said that the only reason she was here was that she wanted to encourage her daughter's delusions, and I told her that she was an even bigger failure at being a mother than my sister because in spite of having 2 kids, she had failed to be there for either of us and all of this was her doing. My statements really shocked them and both of them left immediately afterward, but not before letting out a string of curse words against me. Even my wife was pretty shocked by the things that I had said, and she said that she didn't necessarily disagree with what I said, but at that moment, it must have really hurt for them to hear it. Of course, I feel terrible for saying all of that because I'm really not the kind of person who takes joy in hurting other people, but then, I feel like I had to say something because they were making me out to be the bad guy and I did not want them to get away with it. So Ida for retaliating at my mom and my sister by talking about my sister's infertility and telling my mom that she failed to raise both her kids? Update 1. Hey, thank you everybody who took the time to comment on my post. I had that fight with my mom and my sister about 3 days ago and since then, the only people that I have spoken to about this are my wife and my father. Both of them are pretty much of the same opinion, that what I said was a little harsh and definitely a little extreme, but given the context of what was going on, it was totally justified. I said it in the heat of the moment and it's enough that I feel bad about it, but I don't need to apologize for it because it's not like my mom and my sister have apologized to me for anything that they have said. And they are the ones who were actually responsible for the fight because if they had just left when I asked them to, none of that would have happened. But they decided to stay on and fight with me and push me to the very edge, which is why I ended up saying those things. It's a huge relief for me that the people who matter the most to me don't think I'm the bad guy for saying those things, even though I do feel bad about saying it. However, since they feel like I don't really need to apologize, I'm not going to be apologizing. After they left, I don't know if my sister had anything to say about me, but I know for a fact that my mom has been ranting about me for days now, ever since that fight happened. She has been talking my dad's ear off about it and my dad has been defending me all along, which I'm really grateful for, but it has only made my mom even angrier because she thinks that my dad is encouraging my bad behavior. I don't understand how she doesn't see that it's the exact same thing that she has been doing for my sister forever and probably the reason why my sister has turned out to be the way she has. She believes that I owe her and my sister a huge apology because they were only trying to be there for me and I villainized them for no reason. It's funny because I feel the same way about them. So I guess it's just her word against mine at this point. Anyway, the bottom line is that they are not going to be receiving any apology from me because they totally got what they deserved. If they had not pushed me, I wouldn't have lashed out at them and it's as simple as that. Like I said, my only priority is going to be my wife and I'm gonna try and not let these petty things bother me from this point on. Update 2. So it's been a little over a week since I got into that fight with my mom and my sister and I was trying to keep everything private by speaking to only my dad and my wife about it. But I guess they don't want to respect that. They decided to go public with it and made a post about me on their social media, where they only mentioned the things that I had said but did not mention the context in which I had said it. I'm not even kidding, there was just one paragraph, where they mentioned the comments that I had made but there was absolutely nothing about what they had said, or we had gotten into that fight either. Of course, after that, I started receiving calls and messages from the rest of the family, telling me that it was simply not okay for me to be making below-the-belt remarks like this against my family and that they had expected better from me. A lot of them even asked me if this was true in the first place because they refused to believe that I was capable of saying things like this. I was shocked that they had posted that and before I reached out to them, I decided to talk to my dad about it, and he told me that even he was surprised that the two of them had done this, and he was trying to talk some sense into them so they would take that post down but he hadn't had any luck so far. I was furious that they had done this, so I decided to take matters into my own hands and after speaking to my wife, I decided to post what really happened that day. I did not deny the fact that I had said those things that I was being accused of by my mom and my sister, but I also put it in the context of what had actually happened so it would at least make sense to everyone else. If they were going to try and seek sympathy from everyone else, I was going to make sure that people at least knew the whole truth. I spoke about their visit, I spoke about what my mother had said to me about my wife's pregnancy all those months ago and what had actually led to the fight that day. After I made my post and people started reading it, they started commenting in my support, and a lot of people reached out to me to tell me that they had been clicked to judge and they were sorry for it, but now that they knew the whole truth, they were dicey about whose side to be on. And that's fine, it's really not a problem with me because I know that what I did was nearly not as bad as them. I did not even need people to be on my side. If I had wanted sympathy from everyone, then I would have been the first person to post. The only reason I decided to clarify things was because I did not want any unnecessary hate to be coming our way. But I don't think that my mom and my sister understand the concept of that, because it's been a couple of days since both of us put up our respective posts and they have been accusing me of being a self-involved attention seeker, which is really what they are and not me. They think that whatever they did still did not warrant the kind of reaction that they received from me, and the statements that I made were outrageous, regardless of the context in which they were made, but I don't think that the rest of the family feels that way. Anyway, I'm just happy that I was able to put my side out. Update 3. So a couple of days have passed since my last update, and today, when I checked my messages and social media in the morning, I realized that a lot of people had told me that my mom and my sister had taken down their posts about what had happened. I guess they had started receiving a lot of criticism from the rest of the family, which is why they were forced to make that decision. I don't think anybody was buying the narrative that they were trying to push, that I was just being an attention seeker and fighting for sympathy, and that's why I had put up a post in my defense. And everybody else also agreed with the fact that what I had said had been wrong. It was kind of justified given the circumstances. They couldn't take the heat, so they decided to take their posts down, and it felt like a huge win for me. I haven't taken mine down yet because I want to keep it up for a couple of days more, just in case they try to do anything funny. Another interesting thing happened a couple of days back. Shortly after I put up my post where I spoke about my side of the story, my brother-in-law decided to message me. Since I'm not very close with my sister, I'm not very close with her husband either, so we haven't really spoken much. It was pleasantly surprising when he reached out and told me that he knew that his wife was never going to apologize to me, and so far, he did not think that she had a reason to be either, because he had only heard about her side of the story, but now that he had read mine, he didn't know what to believe. He told me not to talk about it to anyone and keep this between us, but just in case what I was saying was actually true, he wanted to apologize on his wife's behalf, because ever since she found out that she was going to be dealing with infertility for quite some time and a natural pregnancy without IVF was not going to be possible, she has been kind of on the edge. It was clear that he was going through a lot from the tone of his message, and I really felt sympathetic towards him, so I told him that it was fine and that I was really glad that he was even reaching out to me to apologize. He seems like a genuinely nice guy. I don't know how he ended up with my sister. But I have honored whatever I had promised him, and I haven't spoken to anybody about it so far. Well, except for here, but I don't really think that's breaking the promise. Update 4. Hey, so it has been a couple of weeks since my last update, and recently, I took my post down. I figured that it had been left for long enough, and by now, everybody knows the truth. I also figured that I don't need to punish my mom and my sister more than they are already being punished, because who they are as people is bad enough. I was speaking to my dad a couple of days ago, and he told me that my sister and her husband are heading for a divorce because ever since she found out that she had fertility issues, she has been acting totally crazy. She had always been excessively pampered and entitled and a little insane, to be honest, but of late, it had reached intolerable levels. Apparently, she had become very toxic, and her husband had tried his best to tolerate it, but after a recent fight, he was just done. So she had come back home to stay with her parents, and ever since that had happened, it had been a constant soap opera at my dad's place. Of course, my mother is making sure that her daughter does not feel bad and has been blaming her husband for everything that has gone wrong by enforcing the belief that my sister can never be wrong about anything at all. My heart honestly goes out to my dad for having to deal with all of this. I felt pity for her too, because she recently found out that she was not going to be able to have kids, and her husband is also leaving her now. The second one is definitely her fault, but well, I'm not that heartless, so I decided to take that post down. I'm still not gonna apologize for anything though, and neither am I going to reach out to them, because I'm pretty sure that they have not changed. My dad has even been telling me that there is a lot of it should have been me and not my brother, kind of mindset going around in the house, with regard to the pregnancy. So well, I think it's best for us to stay away from each other. And as always, my priority is my wife, and as long as she's happy, I'm happy, so I guess it will be safe to say that right now, I'm very happy.